Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Neel Koyawala, and I'm a senior here at Columbus Academy. This is nice, isn't it? Look around. Over 1,000 of us, with interests ranging from silly bands, to Pokemon, to Lady Gaga, a bunch of different individuals with unique and complex stories coming together to form one community and reflect on Martin Luther King Jr.'s remarkable movement. But this isn't anything new for me. After all, this is my 7th time at this assembly. Still, over the years, every assembly has meant something more to me. My first Martin Luther King Jr. assembly was in 5th grade, when I was about this tall. I was a guest for the day, visiting with Ben Meacham, and I was sitting towards the back of the bleachers. For the first time, I had been introduced to the Academy community in its entirety. It's interesting to note the vibe the community gives off to those who aren't fully part of it. That day, I was inspired by this assembly, and after having attended numerous classes in this assembly, I was impressed by how much Academy kids managed to squeeze in one day. During the next few MLK Junior assemblies, I thought about how lucky I am to live in a country that allows me to mix between two cultures, American and Indian. I love taking the strengths from each and creating my own Neel culture. More assemblies pass by, and I ponder about how different our school would be without Dr. King's contributions. Some of us would not be here because of the color of our skin. Only 20 years ago, not a single girl was at this school, and without King's movement, it may have taken even longer for girls to join. And guys, let's face it, girls have a lot to contribute around here. Nowadays, it sounds ridiculous that women were excluded opportunities to a fair education and a job just because of their gender. But today's assembly, I'm not only reflecting on race and gender, but also on societal change, how our world evolves and grows, because Dr. King's movement represents how we make our community better. But why do we change anything? Isn't our world, our country, our school fine just the way it is? Although many things are better now, we must acknowledge that we live on a planet where there's tremendous suffering. Many of Martin Luther King Jr.'s goals are still not met. Take poverty, for example. In addition to civil rights, Dr. King fought hard to eliminate poverty. He said, quote, "The curse of poverty has no justification in our world," end quote. About 40 years later, we're still not close to resolving the issue. If the 1,200 people in this gym represented the world's population, about 170 of us would be starving. Wouldn't even have one meal to eat today. That's about 1 in 7 people. I bet all of us will one day see someone impoverished on the streets and wish that we could do something about it. But how can we work towards making change now? I think one of the first steps is acknowledging that we are always in a process of change and to support the movements around us. It's hard to believe how much opposition Dr. King received during his movement, how much opponents argued segregation wasn't discriminatory, that putting people of color in separate schools was just fine. Change is not only about starting nonprofit organizations and traveling to less privileged areas of the world, although I'm sure quite a few of the altruistic and adventurous minds in this audience will venture to do so one day. It also requires us to do something that is quite simple in theory, but quite difficult in practice. Respect other people and respect our surroundings enough to do something about it. A message that is core to most positive social movements throughout history, whether it was by Dr. King or Mahatma Gandhi or Nelson Mandela. Social change requires empathy. I'm nearly finished. I would like to end with specific messages to each school. Lower schoolers, always continue to see every person as a possible friend. It's a gift, and your openness with other people will make the world a better place one day. Middle schoolers, remember that real courage is to be kind to each other and to forgive your peers, even those who may have been mean to you, because it's stronger to be kind than mean. Upper schoolers, soon we will be the ones leading and contributing to society. The attitudes we endorse today will carry on in the future. What do we want our future to look like? I ask you, why not support a community that is more inclusive of people's differences and encourage each other to excel in our pursuits? Really, why not? Just 2 days ago, while commemorating those victims at Tucson, President Obama said in a speech, quote, "We may not be able to stop all evil in the world, but I know how we treat one another, that's entirely up to us." End quote. Lastly, to the Columbus Academy community, in these quickly changing times, it's critical we are supportive of a more empathetic civilization so we can accomplish Dr. King's remaining goals, like eliminating poverty. I think J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, put it best when she said, quote, those who choose not to empathize enable real monsters, for without ever committing an act of outright evil ourselves, we collude with it through our own apathy. What we change inwardly will change outer reality. End quote. There's no reason, when we have so much prosperity, there should be so much poverty. I have a dream that in our generation, we accomplish more of Dr. King's goals, and I hope you join me. Thank you.